Hello, welcome to the First Love Stories channel. So we're going to see another stories. Her name was Jen. I chased her through most of my teenage years. We met at the age of 13 when she asked me how old my best friend at the time was. She was interested in him. That should have been an omen. Despite the lack of romantic connection, we clicked as friends almost instantly. We made each other laugh easily. We shared our innermost thoughts about everything. We talked on the phone almost every day and hung at least one evening most weekends. I should mention an important fact. I was more fortunate than most kids in the small town in which I lived. My father made a good living, and at age 15, I had a little used car to drive. It wasn't much, but it was more than most kids had. Jen always wanted me to come over to her house, about a 20-minute drive. We'd hang out for a bit, make each other laugh, and I'd try to hide my evident affection. Invariably, she'd have somewhere she'd want to go, maybe a movie. Maybe she was meeting another guy there from her school. We attended different schools. Maybe she wanted to go to the mall. Her mom never had the time to do that, and her dad was barely in the picture. So I would be her chauffeur. I rationalized it in my mind that it was okay because she was one of my closest friends. In hindsight, I find it funny that most of the boys she dated wanted to fight me, and I never understood why. Now I know it was just teenage insecurity on their part. To be fair, it wasn't like I was always pining for her. I dated other girls along the way, but she always hated those girls. She would find things wrong with them. There was the one girl who was trailer trash who wasn't smart enough for me. There was a girl from her school that I actually met because of Jen, who I was told isn't into you. She's all over these other boys at school. But the one that really stunned me was the rocker chick with whom I shared almost identical musical tastes. She and I got close and physical very quickly. Jen was friends with that girl before we started dating, actually. But Jen stopped talking to her once she started dating me. That is until Jen called her and told her that I had sex with most of Jen's friends. That resulted in my first real conflict with Jen. I called her out on her lie and asked her why in world she would say such a thing. Her response, "I just don't think you mesh well. I don't think you're right for each other." Years later, when the movie Clueless came out, that line gave me such a flashback. I digress. I'm going to leave out the details of a bunch of other stories, like the time I rushed her to the emergency room, or the time she sabotaged me flirting with a girl by insisting on sitting in my lap. Check that, sitting between my legs at a skating rink. Eventually, during our senior years of high school, we found ourselves both single. I decided it was time to let her know the depth of my affection for her. So I tried. I confessed my love for her. She laughed it off. I tried again. She told me that she loved me too much as a friend to ruin it by being my girlfriend. She tried to set me up with other friends. I got the hint and gave up on her being my girlfriend. I was friend-zoned, and I just accepted it. Coincidentally, this was happening in southern Louisiana. At the time, the legal drinking age was 18. Jen was a few months older than me, so she turned 18 almost immediately after high school graduation. Most kids did, as I was one of the youngest in my class. Jen started partying a lot, but I couldn't join her in the bars. Her time for me quickly dwindled to nothing. We talked a lot less on the phone since she was always with other people with whom she could consume alcohol legally. We never hung out on the weekends anymore. I came to realize that I valued our connection much more than Jen did. I looked back on all the times that Jen used me as her personal taxi. Maybe our friendship meant something to her, but it obviously meant a lot more to me. Once I was no longer useful, I was out of the picture. I spent that summer working at my father's business, while I waited for my college semester to roll around. I was moving about 4 hours away from home, to a town no one from my town would go to. I was excited to go somewhere new, meet a whole group of new people, and experience different things. 3 days before move-in day, Jen shows up at my work. She's visibly upset and asks me to come talk to her outside. Standing in the parking lot beside her car, I ask her what's wrong. She started to shed tears. "I don't want you to go. I want you to stay here. I want you to stay close to me." I'm not sure what would have been the best way to respond to those words. I'm sure the look on my face could best be described as incredulous. I had 1,000 things go through my brain that instant, most of them being some variation of, "Is she for real? Now? Of all times? Now?" I looked down, closed my eyes and clenched my fists. I took a deep breath. Then I looked up at her and put my hands on her shoulders, keeping her literally at arm's distance. No, I am moving. I hope you have a wonderful life, Jen. I have to get back to work. I heard her sob as I walked away, but I never turned around. She drove off without another word. A few months later, I heard from a mutual friend that some random hookup got her pregnant. About a year after that, she tried to reach me through my parents when I was back home from my cousin's funeral, but I was in the shower and I declined to call her back. Last I heard, she's had a decent life. She married when her child was around 3 years old, and by all accounts, the guy is a good man. They've got several kids of their own now. We haven't spoken in almost 20 years. That's it for the stories. Hope you like the stories and share with us in the comment. I will make your stories.